Alright, Egypt. The next civilization we're talking about is Egypt. Okay, so you might know Egypt for the pyramids, you might know it for kind of the Great Sphinx, which is on the right, or you might know it for the Great Mr. Nolan Sphinx, which is on the left. So the geography of Egypt, okay? It's located on the Nile River. This big river that goes through Egypt, all of Egypt, is called the Nile River, okay? The Nile floods at the same time every year, so it's predictable. Remember, we said Mesopotamia was unpredictable flooding. Now the Nile is predictable, and it's going to leave a layer of silt behind, something called silt, which is basically a type of mud that helps plants grow, so it makes farming easier. And deserts provide natural protection. The Sahara Desert is to the left. It provides natural protection, and it also prevents people from the Nile from spreading to other regions, really. So you might be wondering why Lower Egypt up here is on top, whereas Upper Egypt is on the bottom. Okay, here's the reason. This area that is called Upper Egypt on the map is kind of higher in elevation, okay, so it's more mountainous. So the Nile River flows downward, okay, because water flows downhill, and it flows down into what we call Lower Egypt. So the Nile River starts up here in Upper Egypt, and then it flows downhill into the Mediterranean Sea. So that's why Upper Egypt is on the bottom, and Lower Egypt is on top. So, the innovations of the Egyptians. What did they do? What did they create? First thing is papyrus, okay? Papyrus is basically a bunch of reeds that they kind of weave together and they create paper so they can write on it. They can have scrolls, they can keep records, they can do religious things on paper. Okay, so papyrus, very key. The other thing is, how do they write on the paper? Hieroglyphics, okay? It's the Egyptian writing system. I'll show you a picture in a second. Okay, hieroglyphics, the Egyptian writing system. And then, lastly, they create the massive buildings known as pyramids. Okay, these serve as burial sites for their pharaohs, okay, and important officials. So this is a picture just of hieroglyphics. You see kind of, it's a combination of pictures and symbols. And this would be how they keep track of writing. There would be a picture basically for the different types of words and phrases that they would use. Alright, so the social structure of Egypt, okay? Egypt's government is a theocracy, which means that the ruler's power is based on religious authority. So the ruler is called the pharaoh. So the pharaoh would kind of look like this statue here. He'd have a headdress on. He would probably have a lot of jewelry, and he is seen as a god, okay? So the pharaoh is God on earth, basically, okay? And that's why he has the power. He has all the power to rule because the people think that he is a god on earth. And that strict social structure that we talked about in Mesopotamia, that's going to be the same thing. So there's slavery. The pharaoh would be at the top, then kind of your merchants, your religious people, kind of your large landowners, and the bottom people would be the commoners and the slaves. And here's Mr. Nolan as a pharaoh kind of hitting on perhaps Cleopatra or perhaps somebody else. If you know what a pheromone is, you'll get that joke. So they believed in the afterlife, and they mummified their dead bodies. Okay, mummified means you kind of wrap it in paper. You put some kind of special paste on the body, and it preserves the body. So they bury their pharaohs inside the pyramids. They mummify them, and they believe that this will help them in the afterlife. Okay, so the Egyptians are polytheistic, meaning they believe in many gods. So polytheism, poly means many. So obviously the Egyptians believe in many gods, and you'll probably get into them more once we get into that in class. So here's just another picture. This would be what the inside of a tomb might look like. You'd see kind of this tomb with the pharaoh or an important person inside, and he'd kind of be buried with all his treasures and all those things like that. Alright, so if you're keeping score at home, just remember that this is Mr. Grimslin. Thanks for watching the video, and always remember that Mr. Nolan has smelly feet. Thanks for watching.